The Tuesday afternoon call came like it always did. Casual, entitled, inevitable. "Hey, can you watch Mason tonight?" My sister Rachel didn't wait for an answer. "Dave's company thing ran late and I have book club. Just feed him whatever. He'll probably fall asleep on your couch." Mason was 7. He wouldn't fall asleep until 10 minimum and Rachel knew it. "Tonight's not great." "Oh come on, you're home anyway." I could hear her car door slam, already moving on to her next task. "What else are you doing?" What else was I doing? The question that had defined 3 years of my life. I looked at my laptop screen. Payroll reports for Elite Care Services, the nanny agency I'd built from nothing. 43 employees. 6-figure revenue last quarter. But to my family I was just home. "Fine," I said. "Bring him by 6. Rachel arrived at 5:47 with Mason, his overnight bag, and her youngest 3-year-old Sophie. "Can you take Sophie too? She's been fussy and I just need a break." This happened every time. The ask expanded like a slow leak until I was drowning. "Rachel. Thanks, you're the best." She was already backing toward her Escalade. "Pick them up tomorrow after my Pilates class. Around 11. 17 hours. Not the few hours tonight she'd asked for. I'd started watching Rachel's kids when Mason was 4 and she went back to work part-time at her husband's dental practice. "Just until we find the right nanny," she'd said. "You know how picky I am." That was 3 years ago. It started as Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 to 6 p.m. Then my brother Tyler's divorce happened, and suddenly I had his 2 kids every other weekend. Then Mom volunteered me for my cousin's emergency childcare when her sitter quit. Then Rachel's part-time became full-time and Tuesdays and Thursdays became Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. Nobody asked anymore. They informed. The phrases were always the same: "You're so good with kids. You're home anyway. What else are you doing?" And the killer: "Family helps family." What they meant was, "Your time has no value." My business did well despite them, not because of them. I'd started Elite Care Services from my living room, matching vetted nannies with families who understood that professional childcare was worth professional rates. Our standard rate was $28 per hour. Our overnight rate was $35. Emergency same-day rate was $45. I charged these rates to strangers. I charged $0 to my family. The group text came Thursday morning. "Mom, Rachel mentioned you're watching the kids again today. Can you pick up Grandma from her doctor's appointment at 2? She needs someone to wait with her. Tyler. And can Nathan sleep over Friday? His mom's taking him to a birthday party Saturday morning from your place. Closer to the venue." Rachel. "Perfect. I'll drop Sophie and Mason Thursday night then. Dave and I are doing a romantic weekend in Napa. Back Sunday evening." I stared at my phone. Thursday afternoon. Thursday night. Friday. Friday night. Saturday morning. Sunday pickup evening, which meant 7 p.m. at earliest. 72 hours of childcare, scheduled via group text, with less notice than I'd give a pizza delivery driver. I opened my calendar. I had a meeting with a potential corporate client Friday morning, a tech company looking to provide backup childcare benefits for 200 employees. The contract would be worth $380,000 annually. I'd have to cancel. This was the 4th client meeting I'd rescheduled this year because of family emergencies that were really just my family's poor planning. My fingers hovered over the keyboard to type "I can't," but the family dynamics were already in motion. If I said no, I'd hear about it for months. Mom would call it selfish. Rachel would post passive-aggressive Facebook memes about people who forget where they came from. Tyler would tell everyone I'd abandoned his kids when they needed me most. The cost of saying no was exhaustion. The cost of saying yes was also exhaustion, but quieter. I typed, "I have a work meeting Friday morning. Rachel, can't you reschedule? This is important. Mom, your sister needs this break. She's been so stressed." Tyler, "Come on, it's just one meeting. Just one meeting. Just a few hours. Just family helping family." I rescheduled the client meeting for the 3rd time. They were gracious about it, but I could hear the hesitation in the VP's voice. Reliability mattered in childcare. I was proving myself unreliable. Friday afternoon, I had all 5 kids in my apartment. Mason and Nathan were fighting over the Xbox. Sophie was crying because she wanted her mother. Tyler's daughter Emma, age 9, was doing homework at my kitchen table. His son Jake, age 6, had already spilled an entire cup of grape juice on my couch. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant, Melissa. Melissa, the Sterling Group called. They're going with another agency. Said they need someone who can commit to their timeline. $380,000. Gone. I looked around my apartment. Toys everywhere, kids screaming, my laptop unopened since Thursday morning. My business was suffering because I was too busy providing free labor to people who thought I had nothing better to do. Something cracked inside me. Saturday morning after Rachel's no-show for pickup. Running late. Maybe 2 p.m. I opened Excel. I created a spreadsheet titled Family Childcare Services, 2022 to 2024. I started with Rachel. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 years, 2 to 6 p.m. That was 4 hours twice weekly for 156 weeks. 1,248 hours. At my standard rate of $28 per hour. $34,944. But it wasn't just Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore. I scrolled through my calendar, documenting every text, every emergency, every dropped-off kid. The overnights. The weekends. The just one more hour, that became 5. Rachel's total, 1,847 hours over 3 years. Tyler's post-divorce childcare, 624 hours, mostly weekends and school breaks. Cousin Jennifer's emergency childcare that became a regular Tuesday arrangement, 312 hours. Mom's doctor appointments where I entertained grandma, 89 hours. Random nephew/niece watching at family gatherings while everyone else socialized, 147 hours. Total hours, 3,019. I applied my agency's rate structure. Standard hours at $28. Evening hours, after 6 p.m., at $35. Overnight hours at $35. Weekend hours at $32. Emergency same-day requests at $45. The spreadsheet calculated automatically. Total, $97,234. I stared at the number. Nearly 6 figures of free labor over 3 years. No wonder my business had plateaued. I'd been running a second unpaid business out of my living room. I created a second sheet. Opportunity costs. 4 rescheduled client meetings. Estimated $830,000 in lost contracts. Missed networking events. Impossible to quantify, but I noted each one. Delayed hiring of my own employees because I was too busy. Estimated 6 months of business growth, approximately $120,000 in revenue. The conservative total, $950,000 in lost business opportunities. Because I was home anyway. I spent Saturday afternoon building the invoice. Professional. Itemized. Every date, every child, every hour. I used my agency's actual invoice template. The same one I sent to clients who paid without question because they understood the value of quality childcare. Elite Care Services. Professional Childcare Invoice. Client, Brennan Family. Service period, January 2022 to November 2024. Total hours, 3,019. Total amount due, $97,234. I attached the detailed spreadsheet. Every single instance. Then I wrote the email. Subject, Professional Childcare Services rendered 2022 to 2024. Dear family. Attached is an invoice for childcare services provided over the past 3 years. This reflects the actual cost of the care you've received, calculated at the professional rates I charge clients through Elite Care Services. I want to be clear. I'm not asking you to pay this invoice. Consider it a gift, $97,234 worth of my time, expertise, and flexibility. However, I can no longer provide free childcare services going forward. My business has suffered significantly from the assumption that my time has no value, and I've lost nearly $1 million in opportunities because I've been home anyway. Effective immediately. I'm available for emergency childcare at 48 hours notice. Billed at my agency's emergency rate, $45 per hour. I'm available for scheduled childcare at 1 week notice. Billed at standard rates starting at $28 per hour. I'm no longer available for same-day, last-minute, or just a few hours requests. All childcare requests should be submitted in writing with specific pickup times. I love your children. I don't love being taken for granted. I've spent 3 years building a business you dismissed as not a real job. That business employs 43 people and generates multiple six figures annually. It would generate more if I hadn't been operating a free childcare service for family who never once asked if I had the time. This isn't about money. It's about respect. If you'd like to schedule childcare through Elite Care Services, please contact my assistant Melissa at the number below. She'll be happy to check my availability. Best. My finger hovered over the send button for 10 full minutes. This would detonate my family. There would be screaming. Accusations. Mom would cry. Rachel would call me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. Tyler would say I was holding his divorce against him. But I'd lost $1 million in opportunities by staying silent. I pressed send. The first response came 4 minutes later. Rachel, is this a joke? Tyler, what the hell, Sarah? Mom, we need to talk about this in person. This is not how family treats family. Then my phone rang. Wait. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Voicemail. Tyler. Voicemail. Rachel again. Voicemail. The group text exploded. Rachel, you're seriously invoicing us for watching your own nieces and nephews? What is wrong with you? Mom, I'm so disappointed. I raised you better than this. Tyler, those are your family too. You wanted to spend time with them. Rachel, we've done so much for you over the years. Remember when we helped you move? When Dave gave you dental work at cost? This is how you repay us. I drafted my response carefully. I helped you move once 6 years ago for 4 hours. Dave charged me $2,400 for a root canal. At cost would have been around $800. I've provided 3,019 hours of free childcare. The math doesn't work in your favor. Again, you don't owe me money. You owe me acknowledgement that my time has value. Mom, this is about more than money. This is about family. Exactly. Family should value each other's time. You've made it clear you don't value mine. Rachel, I have a job too, Sarah. I'm working full-time at the practice. At your husband's practice. Where you make your own schedule. I run a business with 43 employees depending on me. I've canceled multiple client meetings because you texted me same-day emergencies. Tyler, so you're just abandoning my kids? After their mom left? I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm establishing business hours. You can book childcare through my agency like any other client. Tyler, you're going to charge your own brother? Yes. Like I charge everyone else who wants professional childcare. The voicemails were worse than the texts. Mom's voice trembling. I don't know where this anger is coming from, but you need to think about what you're doing. You're destroying this family over money. Over money, Sarah. I thought you were better than this. Rachel's voice sharp. You know what? Fine. We'll find someone else. Someone who actually cares about family. Don't expect to see Mason and Sophie anymore. You've made your choice. Tyler's voice cold. The kids were asking about you today. I had to tell them Aunt Sarah doesn't want to see them anymore. Hope your business is worth it. The guilt hit like a wave. Mason asking for me. Sophie confused about why I wasn't there. Emma and Jake thinking I didn't love them anymore. But then I remembered, I wasn't the one who made them think that. Tyler was. Rachel was. They were weaponizing children's emotions to manipulate me back into free labor. I called my therapist for an emergency session. Dr. Patel listened to the whole story, the invoice, the responses. Then she asked her usual question, what do you need right now? I need to know if I'm wrong, I said. If I'm being selfish. Let me ask you something, she said. If a stranger called you at 5:47 p.m. and said, I need childcare in 13 minutes, probably overnight, maybe longer, what would you say? I'd say we require 48 hours notice for standard services and charge emergency rates for same-day requests. But when family does it? I say yes. Why? Because. I trailed off. Because family helps family. Because I'm home anyway. Because my time doesn't matter as much as their convenience. Sarah, you've been running 2 childcare businesses. One that pays you, respects your expertise, and operates on professional boundaries. One that pays you nothing, disrespects your time, and operates on guilt and obligation. You're allowed to close the second business. They're saying I'm choosing money over family. You're choosing to value yourself the same way you value strangers. That's not choosing money over family. That's choosing self-respect. By Sunday evening, the extended family had been mobilized. My aunt called to lecture me about gratitude. My cousin Jennifer, whose 312 hours of emergency childcare made the spreadsheet, accused me of keeping score and being petty. Family doesn't keep track, Jennifer said. You're right, I replied. I shouldn't have to keep track because you should have been considerate enough not to exploit me. Exploit? I asked for help. You asked for help 312 times over 2 years. At some point, asking for help becomes assuming unpaid labor. She hung up on me. My uncle called to say I was tearing the family apart. My grandmother left a voicemail saying she was sad to see what I'd become. What I'd become? Someone who valued her own time. The worst part was the isolation. No one was asking my side. No one was saying, hey, maybe we did take advantage. They'd all immediately closed ranks around Rachel and Tyler, painting me as the villain who'd suddenly become greedy and cruel. But Monday morning something shifted. My assistant Melissa forwarded me an email. From Jennifer Martinez. To Elite Care Services. Subject, Childcare Services Inquiry. Hello, I'm looking for regular Tuesday childcare for my daughter, ages 3 from 2 to 6 p.m. I saw your rates online. Do you have availability? Please don't mention this inquiry to Sarah Brennan. She's my cousin and I'd prefer to keep business separate from family. I stared at the email for a full minute, then started laughing. The kind of laugh that turns into crying then back into laughing. Jennifer, who'd called me petty for keeping score, was now willing to pay a stranger $28 per hour for the same childcare she'd gotten free from me. She understood childcare had value. She just didn't think childcare had value. I forwarded it to Dr. Patel with the subject line, and there it is. She replied, they always understood. They just preferred you not to. Over the next week, 3 things happened. First, Rachel hired a nanny. She complained constantly about the cost, $32 per hour, the schedule inflexibility, the nanny wanted consistent hours. Imagine that, and how the nanny wasn't as good with the kids as you were. That's because I charged you nothing and had no boundaries, I replied to her text. Quality childcare at professional rates comes with professional expectations. She didn't respond. Second, Tyler started actually co-parenting with his ex-wife instead of using me as free backup. Turns out when you can't dump your kids on your sister every weekend, you figure out how to communicate with their mother about schedules. Third, I rebooked the meeting with the Sterling Group's HR director. I apologize for the multiple reschedules, I told her on the call. I had a family situation that required immediate boundary setting. It's resolved now and it won't happen again. We've all been there, she said kindly. My sister used to treat me like free tech support until I started billing her. Sometimes family needs professional boundaries most of all. We signed the contract the following week. $380,000 annually, 3-year commitment. Thanksgiving was 3 weeks away when Mom called. We're still having Thanksgiving at my house, she said, her voice stiff. You're welcome to come if you'd like. If I'd like. As though it were optional, a casual invitation instead of the family obligation it had always been. Will I be expected to provide childcare during dinner so everyone else can socialize? I asked. Silence. Because if so, my holiday rates are $50 per hour with a 4-hour minimum, and I'll need a signed contract by Tuesday. Sarah. Mom's voice cracked. Can we talk about this? Really talk? I've been trying to talk about it for 3 years. You called it selfish. I know. He was crying now. I know and I'm sorry. Rachel told me what she's paying her nanny. When I saw the number I realized, we asked that of you multiple times a week. For years. And we never even thanked you. You thanked me sometimes. Thank you isn't enough. Thank you doesn't pay your bills. Thank you doesn't make up for the meetings you missed or the opportunities you lost or She broke off. I called you selfish for wanting the same respect we'd give a stranger. That was wrong. I sat down on my couch, the same couch where I'd watched hundreds of hours of kids' shows, refereed countless sibling fights, cleaned up infinite spills. I don't need you to pay the invoice, I said quietly. I just needed you to see it. To understand what you were asking of me. I see it now. We all do. She paused. Rachel wants to apologize. Tyler too. They're embarrassed, I think. They knew they were taking advantage, but when you never said no, it was easy to pretend it was okay. I'm not coming to Thanksgiving if I'm expected to be the free childcare. No one expects that anymore. Actually, Rachel hired her nanny to come for 3 hours during dinner. She's paying her time and a half for the holiday. I laughed despite myself. Rachel hired a nanny for Thanksgiving? Turns out when you have to pay for childcare, you suddenly realize it's work. Mom's voice softened. Will you come, please? Just as a guest. Just as my daughter. Not as the free babysitter. I went to Thanksgiving. Rachel's nanny arrived at 3 p.m. and took all 5 kids to the basement playroom. The adults stayed upstairs talking, laughing, drinking wine. No one asked me to go check on the kids. No one told me Sophie needed a diaper change or Mason was fighting with Nathan. It was the first family gathering in 3 years where I wasn't working. Rachel approached me by the dessert table, her face uncertain. Your pumpkin pie business still going strong? Sarah doesn't make pie anymore, Mom interjected. She's been too busy running her actual business. The one we all dismissed. Rachel's face flushed. Right. Your agency. I wanted to apologize. I didn't realize how much I was asking of you. Or I knew, but I didn't want to think about it too hard because then I'd have to admit I was being selfish. You were being selfish, I said. I was. She nodded. And I'm sorry. The nanny I hired is great, but she's not you. She doesn't know that Mason likes his sandwiches cut in triangles or that Sophie calms down faster if you sing the Moana song. She does her job professionally, but she doesn't love my kids. I do love your kids. That's exactly why you shouldn't have exploited that love. I know. Rachel looked at me. I saw the Sterling Group announcement on LinkedIn. The corporate childcare contract. That's huge. I almost lost it because I kept rescheduling for family emergencies that were really just you needing a babysitter. I'm sorry, she said again. I'm really truly sorry. Tyler joined us, beer in hand. The nanny's good. She just got Jake to actually eat vegetables. I think it's because I'm paying her $150 for 3 hours and I didn't want to waste the money by letting him skip dinner. Funny how that works, I said dryly. Funny how you were right about everything and we were entitled assholes. He raised his beer. To Sarah for sending the most uncomfortable invoice in family history. To Sarah, Rachel echoed, raising her wine glass. For making us pay someone else to show us what we took for granted. I didn't rewrite history that Thanksgiving. My family didn't transform into perfect, boundary-respecting angels. But something had shifted. The following Tuesday, Rachel texted, "Emergency at work. Any chance you're free 4 to 6 p.m.? Before I could respond, she sent another message. Never mind, that's not fair to ask same day. I'll call my nanny. 3 hours later, nanny came through. Charged me emergency rates but totally worth it. Thanks for teaching me what professional childcare actually costs. Tyler started putting his custody weekends in a shared family calendar instead of assuming I'd be free. When he did need backup care, he asked a week in advance and always offered to pay. You don't have to pay me for occasional planned help, I told him. That's normal family support. It's the assumption of constant unpaid labor that was the problem. I want to pay you, he insisted. Or at least bring dinner. Or something. I'm done taking you for granted. Mom started booking her doctor appointments around my actual availability instead of assuming I'd drop everything. She also started paying for Grandma's home care aid instead of using me as free companion service. The biggest change was Jennifer. She never acknowledged the Tuesday childcare inquiry I'd seen. But one day she showed up at my door with a Starbucks gift card. For all the coffee you bought while watching Emma, she said. I know this doesn't cover it, but I wanted you to know I get it now. I hired a sitter last month and she asked for $30 an hour and I almost fell over. Then I realized that's what professional childcare costs and I'd been getting it free for 2 years. Thank you, I said. Also, I told my book club about your agency. 3 of them need regular childcare. I gave them your website. Jennifer became my 3rd best referral source that year. It's been 18 months since the invoice. My business has grown 240%. I hired 2 more coordinators and expanded to corporate partnerships. I speak at childcare conferences about professionalizing the industry and establishing boundaries with clients, including family. Rachel and I have dinner monthly, just us, no kids. She tells me about her work at the dental practice. I tell her about my business expansion. We're rebuilding our relationship as sisters, not as user and used. Tyler's kids sleep over once a month, planned in advance, and he always brings takeout and entertains them himself while I work. It's what I'd always wanted, time with my niece and nephew without being their default childcare provider. Mom brags about my business now instead of dismissing it. Last week she told her bridge club about my corporate contracts with a pride that would have meant everything to me 3 years ago. The invoice is framed in my office, not as a trophy but as a reminder. A reminder that I almost lost myself trying to be endlessly available to people who never considered the cost. The number, $97,234, represents more than 3 years of free labor. It represents every time I said yes when I meant no. Every meeting I canceled. Every opportunity one missed. Every hour of my life I gave away to people who'd never have accepted such a gift if they'd had to acknowledge its value. I don't regret sending it. Some people accused me of weaponizing a spreadsheet, of being calculating and cold. But there was nothing cold about it. It was the warmest thing I'd ever done for myself. Assigning value to my time, my expertise, my life. The invoice said I matter. And finally my family heard me.